All right, welcome to Find Your Next Six-Figure Infill Deal, live every Friday, where we cover the best infill deals of the week and we deep dive into our infill deal of the week. This week we have a kind of something more for maybe the traditional investors where you're looking for a long-term buy and hold. It's a new construction duplex with ADUs, so effectively a triplex in a great location west of downtown Boise. And you can actually walk into it when it's all said and done. You walk into it with over $150,000 in built-in equity, and that translates to cash flow. So we'll cover that here in a little bit. And then before that, I just want to cover the details of our system and a little bit of my background. My name is Zach Matson. I am a developer and builder here in Boise. I got started on my journey way back in 2013 when I bought my first duplex and house hacked, lived in one side and rented out the other. And then I bought a second one just a little shy of 2 years after that and did the same thing. And then in 2016, I went into flipping full time. So I transitioned from owning a couple duplexes to flipping full time. And basically, when I was flipping, I kind of struggled to scale the way I wanted to. And I had a hard time, Boise was getting more and more competitive with flipping deals. And so because of that, I kind of started looking at alternatives ways to scale my business that was a effective and reliable model. And so I got interested in infill development and new construction. And so I bought my first deal in 2019. We got it entitled. We started the horizontal improvements in 2020, basically when the pandemic hit. And then during 2020, I picked up a few more deals, and then for a couple of years after that as well. And then basically in 2023, I realized that so in 2022 and 2023, the market was getting a little bit stagnant because the interest rates increased as they did everywhere. And so, landowners were kind of sticking to their guns with sale prices, but home values were coming down a little bit and it didn't make sense on some of the land prices of what they were asking. And so towards the end of 2023, I saw that a lot of those land prices were coming down and there was starting to be more opportunity again. And so I decided 2024 was going to be the year I scaled, bought a couple deals myself, and then I realized I couldn't possibly buy all the deals that there are out there. And so that kind of got my wheels turning. And last year I decided I was going to create a system where I could use my skills and my team to basically do this for other investors as well, where individual investors can take advantage of the opportunities in infill development. And then it's a win for me and my team as well because it brings in revenue consistently. So it's a win-win where we identify deals and find properties that most people don't know even exist, and much less they don't know how to execute. And so we created a system in order for individual investors to be able to do that. So what that created was our infill deal list, and the details of that. So we send out deals every week to our infill deal list members. If you want to be a full-time member and have full-time access to the list, we just have you complete a few steps. So this is open to realtors and individual investors. For realtors, we have you either attend in person, which we'll probably have a couple of in-person events here in a couple months, probably over the summer, or just rewatch our replays. Part one is on infill development, basically kind of how to identify infill development properties, what the opportunities are, that kind of thing. And then part two is on our new construction process. And then we have you watch our Zoom replay of basically just going over our deal list and how to review it and what you're looking at in the deal list, so you understand how to analyze properties that are in that deal list. And then we just have you sign an agreement. It's kind of an NDA, but also just an agreement saying that if you present these opportunities to your clients and you have somebody interested, that you'll introduce us to your clients as well. And that'll be early on in the process. And essentially that just ensures that we can do our part in making sure that we, number one, help you get the deal done and get it done right, but also set up the offer and the structure of the deal so that we make sure we have time to do our really intense due diligence process with that. And then as a bonus to our realtor partners, so we offer free marketing campaigns provided by us. So you can co-brand that with us and send that out to your email list. And then if you're an investor, so if you're an investor and you want full-time access to this list, I'd say half of the people that are on the list are investors, maybe actually a little bit more than half at this point, and then half are realtors. We just have you again watch the same 3 videos. They're geared towards investors. We have the other videos are geared towards realtors, but it's the same content. And then we have you make sure that you have a signed buyer's representative agreement with a sponsoring realtor that's been through the training. So if you already have a realtor that you're under contract with or working with, you can bring them into our system. They just have to go through that same training process. If you don't have a realtor yet, we can refer you to one of our realtor partners that have been through the training process already. The reason why we do that is because these deals aren't the same as a normal house that you buy. There's a lot more to it. And so we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and that we can get the deals done appropriately, and allow for us to get our everything that we need to get done. And then we have to watch the 3 videos. Then we also have you sign an NDA and an agreement saying that if you're going to use or implement our strategy on these properties, that you're going to use us for our services on the general contracting side. That's a big reason why we're doing this. Number one is, for education, and we like helping people, and especially creating a system where individual investors can profit big time. But number two is it's also creating a revenue stream for us. So we just want to make sure that we're upfront about that. And then a few things, basically just to kind of open the book on how we get paid. So we get paid for our general contracting services. That's a big reason why we do this. So that's on the horizontal and vertical. So we do the horizontal infrastructure as well as the vertical. And then we also, because we're vertically integrated, which means we go everything from due diligence all the way through the build. We also manage the entitlements process. Entitlements is when you get the project approved from the city or whatever the agency is. And so we manage that process. We do that all internally. Sometimes we do hire, or we always hire third-party services like engineers, and sometimes architects. Those third-party services we hire out. We just manage that process and manage all the communication between the parties, and then we just charge you an hourly rate for that. And then on the purchase, we charge you a consulting fee, and that's basically designed so that it kind of covers our time and energy and money that we've spent to set up this system, and then also for going through that due diligence process, which at this point is up to a 200-point checklist. So that just kind of covers our efforts in going through that for you. All right, and then the way the system works here, so we created the system basically just realizing that individual investors, most people don't know anything about infill development. There's not a whole lot of information out there on it, or development in general. And so we understand that investors don't want to lose money on a bad deal, or they're worried about not knowing the process or making a mistake, or projects dragging on too long, or not being able to trust contractors not cutting corners, or just not having control or visibility of the project itself. So we set this offer up so that it kind of addresses those concerns. And number one, so we're going to offer expert deal underwriting. So we vet, analyze, and underwrite every infill deal on our list. So we're not just estimating numbers or guessing at numbers. We've done all these deals before. We have costs for everything that we have to do on these, pretty well down. So it's not just guessing at what something's going to cost. Number two is we're going to offer negotiation support. So when you and your realtor are negotiating with a seller or listing agent, we're going to kind of guide you on how to structure and present offers. Then we offer step-by-step due diligence. That's a 200-page due diligence checklist. About 90 to 95% of that is everything that we do. We just share that with you. So we'll create a shared document. You can see our progress as we make our way through that due diligence process. And then as the buyer, you're going to have a few things on there as well, but most of it's us. And then if there's an existing house on the property that needs renovation, we can do that as well with our general contracting. So that's something that we offer as well on these. And then we do the entitlement project management. So that, again, that's kind of making sure things keep moving through through approvals between the city and the professional agencies. And then we do the general contracting on the horizontal and vertical. Some of the bonuses that we give you with this is we give you our ultimate guide, introduction to infill development. If you've signed up on our email list, you probably already received an email with that. Or you can reach out and get that separately as well, but we typically email that automatically when you get on your email list. Then we also are going to provide you with the due diligence checklist. So once your property is under contract, we provide that shared due diligence checklist, and then you can follow along with the process and progress on that. And then at the end of due diligence, we'll give you our one-page underwriting worksheet that we base our guarantees on. This acts as the final go or no-go underwriting for you to base your final investment decision on. So basically, we're going to compare the results at the very end of the project with what was on that one-page sheet. And then during entitlements, we're going to provide you with our entitlement process checklist and projected timelines. And then same thing for the construction process. So once we're under construction, we'll do the same thing for the construction process. And then on all of our new construction houses, we also offer a third-party new home inspection report, and that's done at 4 different phases. The biggest phase, or the biggest thing to me anyway, is the behind the walls. So we actually give you the first report that we give you is at framing and rough-in. So you can see everything before the drywall goes up and make sure if there were any mistakes that they were corrected. Then we do another inspection at drywall, at interior and exterior finishes, and then at the final inspection. That just ensures that you're getting a perfect house, whether you're going to sell it, and then you can provide that to buyers, or if you're going to rent it, you just can ensure that you have a perfect house that's going to withstand the test of time. Number 7, so we also host a monthly progress call. So this is on the last Friday of every month. So you can register in our emails that we send out. There's a registration for that. The replays are also up on YouTube, but that'll basically review all of our current projects for clients and the progress that we made from the previous month. And then we're going to offer you our entitlements guarantee. So this is where we get into our guarantees. We have 2 parts to our guarantee. Number 1 is the entitlements guarantee. So essentially, on the deals that we do, they're anywhere typically from like a single lot split all the way up to mid-sized subdivisions. So if it's like a single lot split, for example, or let's just say it's a 4 lot split. So we're saying we can do a 5-unit subdivision off of off of a single house. If we get to the end of due diligence and say that we can for sure get those 4 additional homes, we're going to put that in our underwriting. And then if for some reason it gets through entitlements and we only get 3 houses, we're actually going to refund you, credit you our consultation fee towards the development costs or towards your next purchase. So that'll get, essentially, we're just backing up to make sure that if we say that we can do a certain amount of units, we're backing that up with our entitlements guarantee. And then the last part of this, the big one, is our underwriting guarantee. So what this is, we are going to guarantee that if the project doesn't meet at least 100% of the cash flow or the projected profit at the final underwriting, we're going to refund you up until it does. And that's up to $50,000 per deal, up to 2 lots being split, or $20,000 per home, anything more than 2. So if we're splitting off those 4 lots, then we are going to guarantee it $20,000 per home. So that's going to be $80,000 total that will back it up. So if we say you're going to make $200,000 on that, we're going to back it up with another $80,000 guarantee on that. So if you don't meet 200,000, so if it gets all said and done, you only make 150,000, we're going to kick in that extra 50,000 to make sure you make your minimum that we guaranteed. So your experience in this, so we basically set this up so that your role is that you make the big decisions. We do the heavy lifting. Our target is 6 figures in 36 months or less. Some deals are less. Some deals are around a year to year and a half. Some deals are 36 months, or some deals, even if they're a little bit bigger and require multiple phases, they could go 4 or 5 years. And then you're protected because you always have visibility into cost, timelines, and progress. So we're very open on all those aspects of it. We're not hiding anything from you. And then your return. So you hold full ownership. So you only get paid, or we only get paid when the deal performs. So we basically have skin in the game as well because of our guarantee, profit guarantee. All right, we're gonna move into the deal this week. This week's deal is a new construction duplex on a lot in the west downtown area of Boise. I'm gonna pull up my share screen here. West downtown slash Veterans Park area. Okay, let me get a chance for my computer to catch up here. Okay, so this is on Clitheroe Drive. The asking price is 250,000. This deal is on the market. There's currently a home on it that's been gutted. Two bedroom, or sorry, I think it's a one bedroom, one bath currently, but we actually have the floor plan where we can turn it into a two bedroom, two bath. So that's included in the budget as well as a complete renovation of the existing house that's gutted. So we have this deal where if you just wanted to buy it and build it and sell it, you can actually make about 79,000 on this. And then the cash on this could potentially be less money out of pocket, particularly if you're going to flip it. But we set this up so that this is what it would look like potentially if you wanted to keep it long term, where you just buy the land cash, pay for the entitlements cash, and then everything else is paid with a construction loan, and then you can refinance that into long-term debt. So theoretically, you could go in here and buy this actually with less money down, and even more so, if you're going to live in it, for example, there's some options there. So there's some local lenders like Idaho Central Credit Union where you could probably come in with a lot less money. Let's say like 40, probably 30% down overall on the land. So you could theoretically do a lot less money. We just underwrote it this way with paying the land for cash. But if we did this, just for an example, if we did 30% down, or let's do 40, because I know there's a lender in town that would lend, a short-term lender that would lend at 40% down. That brings your cash out of pocket only down to 135. Now your interest cost would be a little bit higher, so your profit would go down because you're paying interest now on an additional 150,000 or whatever that is. So your cost would, or your profit would probably go down into the $65,000 range, but that's definitely a possibility here. So just wanted to point that out. If somebody's looking at a deal that but wants to do less cash, that's possible. But as it stands, we have it underwritten to buy the land cash, and then pay the entitlements cash. And then I want to spend some time focusing more on the rental aspect of this. And let me first show you this is renderings. I didn't do these renderings, they're just on the MLS. But it's actually the footprint that mostly the footprint that we already have for it. And so this is kind of the renderings, pretty close to what I would do anyway. And then I have floor plans I can show as well, but it's not on the screen. And then the location. So if we zoom out here, this is Veterans Memorial Park right here. This is Whitewater Park down here. This is the Idaho or the State Transportation Department, Idaho State Transportation Department that right now is condemned. There's kind of some backstory to this, but the state or the city originally was, or the state was originally trying to sell off the properties. Well, then the legislature kind of nixed that, and now they want to remodel it, but the remodel is costing twice as much as what they had anticipated. So right now it's kind of in a holding pattern still. But hopefully this could get redeveloped, because that would actually increase this the desirability of this area overall, even though it's already a great location. So super close to Whitewater Park, Veterans Park, Garden City, just right across the river there. And then the north end, just right across State Street right here. So great location, close to downtown, everything. Could be a great location for a rental. But it would be a great location for a rental. So I just want to pay attention, kind of hone in on the rental, to keep it long term, what that looks like. So these numbers are going to assume that you don't cash out your money at the end, and you just basically keep the money. basically kind of like putting 20% down or 25% down on a rental. So that's basically what this looks like. And then you actually have an additional equity that we create when we build it. So this is your overall capital that, or sorry, the overall debt that you'll refinance. This covers the construction and interest that would be rolled into a construction loan, and then you would refinance and that into long-term debt. When you refinance that into long-term debt, so assuming 6.25% for 30 years, and then kind of making some assumptions on property tax and insurance, we have a total monthly payment of about $5,600. And then rents in this area, and I think this is pretty conservative because there's rentals that are going for this price that are just not, they're definitely not as nice as what new construction would be. So I think realistically this could be like $300 to $500 or $600 more per month, but we want to go conservative on this. But even with the 7,000 monthly in rent from those 3 units, you have a cash flow of 1,420. That's after your just your mortgage payment. If you do property management and then you factor in 5% vacancy, which is like double what the Boise average is right now, and then also 5% total for maintenance, turnover, advertising, repairs, CapEx savings. Those are not necessarily real costs, but those are costs that can be added up over time. That's what your monthly charge would be. So you still cash flow a little, right around $200 a month. But what I'll say is if we turn this into just 8% as management, and that other 10% essentially is basically an extra $600 in cash flow a month that you're not necessarily going to be spending every month. The other thing I'll say with new construction too, when you build new construction and you rent it, your capital expenses are not anywhere close to what you would expect for traditional rentals. So when you buy a 30, 40-year-old home, even if it's been renovated recently, a lot of times you still have old pipes, an older roof. Maybe you have a newer furnace system, but it's maybe 10 years old. So those are all expenses that come up over time. When you buy new construction, everything is brand new, and typically you don't have to worry about making any major repairs for at least 10 years. So a pretty big key there, where you save a lot of money and you can capitalize on that cash flow at the front end. And then as your rents increase over time, then you can start saving up more on that CapEx stuff if that's the way you approach it. So the property is 250,000. Entitlement cost, this is per unit, so the total entitlements are actually 35,000. That's to cover the building plans, the permitting, the like our fees to manage that process, but then also to get it so like Idaho power plans, that kind of thing. These are the development costs, so we just have to extend a road and sidewalks and add power to it, or probably upgrade power, I should say. So that's included in that. And then we have our construction costs. So this is for the duplex plus the renovation of the ADU. And so we have a budget for the ADU in there as well as the construction for the duplex. The duplex, each unit would be 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and around 1,400 square foot each, with a 1-car attached garage as well on that. And so what you end up owning it for total with the land is about 958, and then you're going to have, this is probably a little high on the interest cost, but this is just kind of factoring in if something takes a little bit longer. But let's say it is this much, then you own it for about 1040. So $1,040,000. And then if you look at the resale value, so when you do multifamily like this, you can calculate value easier by looking at your cap rates and what cap rates sell for. So looking at the net operating income and then calculating your cap rate from there based on the value. This is actually a 5.5 cap, which in Boise new construction multifamily like this is selling at 5.25 to 5.5 cap all day. There's actually one that's up on the bench that's currently pending for $1,070,000, and it has let's see, it's a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and a 1-bedroom. So it has 2 less bedrooms, and the rents are actually fairly significantly lower. So we know this price should be pretty accurate. So your profit on that if it's sold. So, again, you can build it and sell it for a profit. Or ideally, I think for the right person, I think this is a buy and hold, and you walk into it with essentially you walk into it with 162,000 in equity because you're not selling it, you don't have these costs. So you retain that equity. So you have that 160,000 in equity walking into it. That translates to real cash flow. You can even cash out if you did a DSCR loan on this. I know on these smaller multifamilies, some lenders will actually do a 1.0 ratio. And so that would actually essentially get, when I did the math on that, that would get you back out at least $200,000, if not a little bit more, depending on what your interest rate is, everything is. But essentially, you could be back into this rental for owning it for $85,000 out of pocket, maybe a little bit less. And then at that point, it would basically be about a break even, at least for a couple of years. And maybe not even that. Like if this is actually conservative, because those numbers are based on this number. So if that's $500 or $600 more, you could theoretically, get all your money back out, or get, big chunk of it back out and still cash flow a little bit. So just numbers that we can dive deeper into when somebody's interested in this and we actually start talking to the lenders. But this is based on what we know is pretty accurate in the market. Everybody's situation is different, so we approach this differently too with different people. So if you're looking for less cash out of pocket, we can underwrite this differently. If you're looking to maximize your profit, there are people that go and buy these in cash and also pay the construction in cash, and then you end up essentially making money, paying yourself interest essentially, because you're putting that 80,000 back in your pocket. So all possibilities. Okay. Anna, did you have any questions on this one? I'm gonna
Sorry,
jump.
my mouse, I couldn't find my mouse to unmute myself. Um, one of the things I was wondering, I see that I've not noticed this before on previous ones, that your sales costs you have at 7%. And just curious why 7%? Because I've always assumed 6% since, maybe three
Yeah,
and
so I always add an extra percent in there, just for like if there needs, well, especially in this market, but it covers like the seller's closing costs, but also like any kind of incentives that may need to be made.
no, that
Um,
makes sense to put closing costs in there. Yeah.
yep,
Okay. Okay.
yep,
Yeah, it's interesting to me, especially on this one, being that I would be the one selling it, that basically I double the return on it.
yeah,
Um, and so I'm
yeah,
like,
exactly. So
that's
yeah, so that's another, what was that,
more
three times,
attractive
that's yeah,
to me
40,
for
another
me
40,000
than
and
it would be for anybody else.
yep,
And I
yeah,
like the 1 year on this as well, which would be because we've talked about stacking these like a 1 year deal with our 2 year deal by BSU, and so then you're getting paid something like every year, you know?
yeah, yep.
And so I do like that idea, but okay. Well, I don't have any other questions on it. I think it's a pretty straightforward deal this time. So
Cool.
yeah, we'll
Cool. Yeah,
talk.
and yeah, I guess we chat a bunch. So if you're interested in it, obviously
Yeah.
you actually get paid also on the purchase too. So that's
Yeah. Yep.
that's like an extra 50 grand in your pocket for this deal.
I know. It does work out nicely when you can do your own deals.
Yeah, for sure.
So that helps our ROI a bunch. But yeah, okay. Alrighty. Well, that's all I got.
Cool. I'm
Okay.
gonna go over another deal here. I actually underwrote and did a site plan last week. I kind of contemplating presenting this one this week as the deal of the week, and even last week, but my main issue is that I think this is overpriced.
Oh,
Um, but So like what I'd like to see on this deal is that they're just selling the house for its value plus maybe a little bit extra for the land. Because like really as 4 lots. So to give you some background on this deal on Latah, it's a listing. There's a site, there's a house on the site already that's 1,100 square feet, but it's in really rough shape. But it's on 4 existing lots. So theoretically, you can just tear down the house and build four homes. But there are some development costs with that because you have to like basically whenever you do redevelopment, you have to put in the new sidewalk that's the city wants, and then you have to put, sewer and water to each line or to each lot now. So there are some development costs on that. So as a development for 4 homes, it actually doesn't make sense. But as a cottage village, a smaller cottage village, because it's on 0.43 acres, there's actually some potential here, some really good potential. So I have this with somebody putting 40% down on the house. Again, it's kind of like this could be a little bit less cash, because somebody could theoretically do the existing house with like a flip loan, because you essentially flip the existing house. So let's say that we'll do 20% down on that. And then the construction cost would be in that loan as well. But so probably around 300,000 total cash. They could fix up and flip the existing house while we're getting approvals on the cottage village. That cottage village is typically about 6 to 9 months to get approved. But then you can build the cottage village. You would actually have to probably rent the house out for a few months or just delay the fix up until we have approval on the cottages. But once the cottages are framed, then you can actually sell that existing house separately. And so you still end up based on like the number I assign, I think the house is worth, which is probably about 250. Based on these numbers, you lose a little bit of money on the existing house just because of these holding costs for the house. But you make a bunch of money on the cottages. So there's a ton of margin on the cottages, because essentially you're getting the lots or the land for like really cheap actually. Then the entitlements are low because it's a cottage, well, multiple units, and it just takes less to entitle than some of the other stuff. And then same thing, your per lot development costs are low as well. So I'm gonna stop my share here and share my actual screen where the layout is. Now that I've been doing a couple of these cottage villages, I'm actually seeing these like almost on a weekly basis the last few weeks, but this is a good example of a smaller one. So this is the existing house. This can be retained. This just gets fixed up and resold once you have the condo plat finalized. And then we could do 4 units behind the existing house, another 5 over here. And then this meets all the cottage village requirements. So essentially we can fit 9 cottages on this lot in addition to the existing house. So essentially it becomes like a little 10 house, I'm going to say subdivision, but it's not subdivision, it's a cottage. So it works a little bit differently. But the nice thing with the cottage village is it's codified in the planning and zoning code. And the benefits to it is it's a lot quicker approvals. It's an administrative approval only. I'm currently going through 2 approvals right now, and it's just it goes really smoothly. And then same thing on the development side, you can actually put in all the infrastructure kind of at the same time that you're building, or at the very least, you put in the infrastructure and then you build immediately. Whereas normally on a subdivision, you have to put in the infrastructure, then you have like a 3 to 6 month wait because you have to get the plat signed and then get permits, and then you go vertical. Whereas this can all be done at the same time. So you like basically save that 6 months in the middle, and then you also save the 6 months on the front end because it doesn't take as long to get approved. So your time period goes down a lot quick, or time period gets shortened. And again, you can retain this existing house, sell it separately once the condo plat is finalized, and then sell all these individually as well, or keep some of them as rentals or whatever. So as a cottage, this makes sense, even at the price that they're asking. even though I'm not like the price that they're asking, I think is, it needs to be, it should be more in line with what the house is actually worth, plus, again, maybe a little bit extra for the extra lot. But essentially the house is spanning three of those lots. And so if you just wanted to go in and fix and flip the house and build something on the other lot, you would actually lose money. And then I also underwrote it as if you did it, I think this is this underwriting here. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen here, sorry. So I think this underwriting is if you were to do a lot line adjustment. Yeah, so you would keep the existing house, do a lot line adjustment. Yeah, so do a lot line adjustment, and then you would actually have uh, two larger lots. Then you can actually either build single family homes. You would actually lose money with those too, because again, the price doesn't make sense. But you could actually keep the house, split it, build 5 cottages on that new lot. And it doesn't even require a split. It's just administrative because it's already an existing lot. But you can build 5 cottages on those and then still keep the existing house on its own lot. It's just if you're going to do cottages, it makes more sense to maximize the density. But you could still make money on this with 5 cottages as opposed to 4 or 9. So
Now,
yeah,
Zach,
that's
I have a
another.
question for you
Yeah.
on that. That 300,000 for this, that does not though include the 100,000 in renovation costs for the existing house? Or does it?
So that would be covered in like the flip loan. So typically your fix and flip loans are going to include 100% of the renovation costs. So this
Okay,
does include that renovation. It just you basically pay interest on that loan, and that's
it's
what's
just
included in
interest
this.
only loan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's 2 other cottage villages on here as well. So we have this one on Maple Grove I presented a couple weeks back. That one, it looks like it's still available. I've had besides Anna, your clients that were interested, I've actually had a couple other people express interest too, but nobody's pulled the trigger yet. So, um, but this is insane why somebody doesn't just jump on this one right now. But for the amount of cash it is and then the return, that's the best deal that we've had since I've been doing this. And then there was another one last week that came on this just shown. And if anybody wants to see the like more details on this one and the Maple Grove, I'm not going to deep dive into these because I already covered them the past 2 weeks. So you can go watch the replays from last week for Shoshone Street and then 2 weeks ago for Maple Grove to get more of the exact details. But this Shoshone Street is another cottage village. And this one's actually kind of unique because it's a cottage village, but it can also be, well, it is also, there's 3 existing homes plus a fourplex on it. The fourplex would actually get torn down. That's the highest and best use is to tear down that fourplex. We would do some lot line adjustments and then maximize the density of those cottages. So we can get 10 cottages the way I have it laid out, but then there's an additional 2 homes. One of those homes can actually be split again and build another home. And then the other third house that's on there is really a tear down. It's like 640 square feet, and it's a single story with a basement. It's just definitely not a good use of the lot. So we'd tear that down and just build a new house. And then if somebody wanted to keep it as a rental, we could actually build a house with a ADU, or actually, here's some news. So the city has actually just passed an ordinance where you can actually now build 2 ADUs on single family home lots. So as long as you can fit 2 ADUs, you can actually build 2 ADUs now. So that's anyway, if people are looking at this as long-term rentals, we could add ADUs to all these single family home properties as well. But anyway, so 10 cottages, renovate 2 homes and sell them separately, split one of those single family home lots, build another house, and then tear down one of the houses and build another one. all as part of this project. So this one takes a little bit more capital because there's a little bit more moving pieces. I'm actually going to go over to my underwriting here. I had to underwrite this separately because it's basically 4 different parcels. And quite honestly, I think this is overpriced by 200,000. So this fourplex is probably priced about right, and that's where the biggest chunk of profit comes in. But you can't actually do this with just this. You like this is on the market by its own on its own, but you can't actually do this the way I have it shown without owning these other properties as well, because of the lot line adjustments and everything. But if these were other properties were to sell for what their value more likely is, this is probably more closer to 1.5 million. Or, there's maybe some, some negotiating power in this being a little bit overpriced and then wanting to sell them all together too, where, maybe you go to the seller and say, okay, if we're going to get close to this price, the seller is going to have to carry the note on it for, however long, or at least a portion of the note. And so maybe they carry a portion of the note until the very end, and then it essentially reduces your out-of-pocket cost to almost nothing. That's kind of how I would approach it is, um, go to the seller and say, okay, we'll give you this, but you have to carry, um, whatever percentage until the very end. Let's say, even if it's, let's say 600,000 or maybe even a little bit more. And then that way that gives you the leverage with the construction lenders that you need, to essentially do this for no money out of pocket. And then you can still control the deal and own it, but get it all done with essentially, minimal out of pocket. Otherwise, this is traditional, the traditional purchase route. This is what it would cost you. And then what I would say too, just going over the values of these, I think the 2 existing houses, are probably, they look like they're in pretty good shape. Now that I've seen the pictures, they did upload the pictures since I underwrote this. So these might be worth a little bit more and maybe don't take as much renovation. But they still need updates. And the resale price on them, just for the size that they are, they're still not gonna be more than this. So I'd say the prices, they're probably worth about 300 each. And then what I didn't do here for this tear down of the small house is, oh yeah, I did assign what probably the max value for the lot is right here. But again, so if you turn this to 300,000, which is closer to what it should be worth, not 3 million, what it's probably worth, we get your total value is close to 1.5, 525. And realistically, this is probably 165 maybe. But now we're getting close, and then your profit goes way up too. So just want to point that out. If somebody's willing to reach out to this listing agent and kind of check the temperature, this could be something where the way I would structure it is, go to the listing agent and say, I'm interested in this. We need a 30-day due diligence. And then that gives us our time to get through the due diligence to make sure that we can do what we need to do. And then I would say to them for the sales price that they can, oops, that they can either sell it at close to the market value, which is at 1.5 million, or if they want to get closer to this price, I think for most people, they're willing to pay a little bit more if their out-of-pocket costs are minimal. So then you say, okay, if you carry 600,000 of this purchase price, or let's say 700,000, well, then you can finance the million into the construction loans and get the loans on, or split up the loans on the properties enough that you can have the right leverage that you need for the lenders. And then essentially have the seller carry 700,000 until the very end. And then essentially you can do this for almost no money out of pocket. There's going to be some costs like entitlement costs and everything that you have to pay for up front, but as far as like your interest costs and construction costs and everything, that's going to be almost nothing, if anything. So that's the way I would do it, is go to the seller and or listing agent and see how much they're willing to wheel and deal.
Question for you. So do you think it's a this is a 2-year project, do you think?
Yeah, so the way these would work, so the cottages, again, so that the cottage approvals would take like 3 months. And then you have to get the civil plans approved, and then we'd also have to do the record of survey, which is the lot line adjustment. So that whole process, both of those take 6 months, that goes concurrently. So you'd actually have where you'd still rent out these existing units. So you'd have your fourplex and your 3 homes that are being rented during all this process. And then you can break ground in 9 months on the cottages, and then the cottages will take about 6 months, or well, we would do horizontal and vertical. I'd say 9 months for construction on that total. So about a year and a half to get finished with the cottages. And then during that time also you can fix up the existing houses and tear down and rebuild the other house. The only thing that might take a little bit longer is splitting the one lot off of this property, because that does have to go through the traditional subdivision route, and that wouldn't start until the lot line adjustment is made, which would be 9 months down the road. So then, but then you basically you put in all the infrastructure while you're doing the cottage construction, so that's done, and then you got the plat signed. So the only thing that would take a little bit longer possibly is getting this lot split and this house built. It could be split in that 2 years. It's just you wouldn't have a finished house in that 2-year period. So you'd start construction then basically on this final house around that two year time frame. But everything else you could actually be in and out in a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything else on here. Again, this Maple Grove one is another cottage village that makes a lot of sense. I'm currently working on 2 others that I'm trying to get as well. So one's actually a partnership that won't be sold, I don't think, unless the seller or the owner ends up not or wanting to sell instead of partnering. And then there's another one that I have an LOI out as well. But we'll see what comes of that, if anything. And I think that's about it. Make sure I'm not missing anything. There's of course deals that we've presented before that are still on the market, like this one on Hill Road. That's another cool one that I think would be cool, but it's a little bit longer time frame. It takes a little bit more cash. And then a lot of these subdivisions take a little bit more cash too, but these are also very, very lucrative as well.
Yeah.
Also, Anna, and then this is also just for the recording for realtors that are listening or watching this. So I've actually started keeping track of these expired and canceled listings. They used to be on the pages that I had. So all these yellow ones were either expired or canceled. So this could be a good opportunity for people to go in and maybe get listings out of, or even deals that you want to
Or try
do
to get an
and maybe
off-market deal
approach a
on
different
it.
way. What's that?
Or try to get an off-market deal on it.
Yeah, exactly. I think at the very least, if you went approach it off market, you could probably get it for minus the commissions, at the very least, I
Yeah.
would think. So yeah, I just started doing that. I'm like, oh, I should have been doing this before, because this is a good opportunity for realtors. And then same thing with these sold properties. This is a good opportunity. I've been chatting with some, not realtors, but other people that are interested in kind of maybe doing some off-market mining, but like approaching these people that bought these deals and see if they're interested in doing these splits or whatever. That would be basically just more like drumming up business for myself. I just don't have time myself to go through it, but it could be an opportunity for people that wanted to get even commissions paid on construction projects for me or whatever too. So
Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for hopping on.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, for sure.